This is part 2 of our heat transfer calculator creation. So in part 1, we created all of the calculations in all of the cells, but we still have the issue of error messages when we don't have anything in the R value over here. And also, this is kind of more of just a look more than it is a functionality. I don't like when you have zeros right here when the cells are blank. What you really want, what a really good program would have is it wouldn't give 0 when there's no information. It would actually give blank when there is no information. So let's go ahead and add a little bit more logic to this. So I'm going to get rid of the yellow cells. Remember, you should only be deleting what's in the yellow cells when you're using this program. These cells, once completed, should not be touched again. Okay, so I am going to get rid of these zeros when there's nothing there by using a series of if-thens. So I'm going to delete what I have here, and I'm going to say if. And the way the if-thens work is there's going to be 3 arguments. The first thing you're going to say is if what? You're going to have to provide like a logic test. If this is true, comma, then do this, comma, and then you will describe what you would do if the first argument was not true. So it's a little complicated, so it might be easier just to kind of do it and then explain what we did. So you're going to provide a logic test. When do you want this cell to execute? When do you want there to be something that's shown? Well, I want this to show if there's a value in both this and this, not just one. If it was just one of them, I could have said a logic test like if this cell is greater than 0. I could have done things like that. But because I want both of these, I need a way of arguing when this has something other than blank. So my logic test is actually going to be the same thing as my output. If I7 times J7 equals 0, what that would mean is either or both I7 or J7 would have nothing there. So if that's true, then I don't want you to display anything. So I'm going to do quotation, quotation. Because what quotation, quotation does is, well, what quotations do is they display what's in between them. So if there's nothing in between them, then nothing will display. So if I7 times J7 equals 0, comma, then quotation, quotation. This second comma is the else. So if I7 times J7 is not 0, then I want you to display I7 times J7. End parenthesis. Now it's blank. And it will remain blank until you have a value in not just one, but both of these. And to reiterate what the quotation quotation does is if you type in something over here, that's what will be displayed, which I want now to be nothing. So now I'm going to copy that logic down again. Boom. And you can logic this part out, but I'm actually kind of okay with it being there, but just for completion, I'll show you. So if, and you can actually leave this again, if all of this equals quotation, quotation, then quotation, quotation. So if the sum of all these is that, then do nothing. Else, give me the sum. I think this is actually supposed to be 0. Yeah, there we go. I'm sorry. So I originally wrote equals quotation, quotation, but equals 0. Just want to reiterate that. And then that'll stay that way until at least one of these comes up. Great. Now I'm going to copy this right here. Actually, we'll wait until we do area to do copying. So same thing for area over here. Equals if 07 times 08 equals 0, comma, then, quotation, quotation, if 07 times 08 does not equal 0, else, then give me 07 times 08. Now you should kind of understand the logic. If you don't understand like what we're typing here, pause the video and take a minute to see if it makes sense with the if blank, then blank, else blank. Okay, now I'm gonna copy and paste all that, just so I don't have to redo all the logic again. You will have to retype in the value over here, like, medium 2, medium 3, medium 4, medium 5, but that's easier than typing in the logic multiple times. So let's quickly revise what we just overrode. Okay, so that here, if E18 times E19 equals 0, then, or actually that's not what I want. Hang on, pause for a second. Yeah, that's fine. There is one more thing I want to add to this, though. Oh, I had a little typo right there. Okay. The only problem that I have with the way I did this is right now the outside temperature is higher than the inside temperature. But what if it was winter time? What if the outside temperature was 20 degrees? Now we have a negative value over here. And all a negative value means for total Q, because once you have an A value, once you have, these are always going to be positive. A negative Q just means that the heat is moving in the opposite direction as what you said. So right here, right now, I define this as saying the heat is moving from the from the outside to the inside. I'm saying that heat is moving from the outside to the inside. But if it's negative Q, then what that's saying is negative Q is moving from the outside to the inside. Or it's moving in the other direction, the inside out. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. Again, to reiterate, a negative Q just means that we're moving in the opposite direction of what you've specified over here. So negative Q means they're moving from the inside out, not outside in. It's negative outside in. Okay. A better way of doing that is, let's actually make this the absolute value. So let's put in front of this right here, I think it's ABS. I think ABS is absolute value. And what that will do is it'll give me the absolute value of this, so our Q is always positive. However, that does mean that you need to be the one to figure out which direction the heat is moving, which is pretty easy, right? If it's the summer, the heat is moving in. If it's the winter, heat is moving out. Okay? All right, the dreadful error message. Okay, this is the more complicated part of the program right here. Here's how we're going to get rid of this. We only want this program or this cell to execute when there is some value in all three of these cells. We don't want it to execute if there's 2. We don't want this to execute if there's 1. We want to wait until there's all 3 values before executing to ensure that we don't have the error message. Although technically, really, we just have to get rid of the R error message. But we'll wait until we have all 3. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do multiple if-thens. So the first if is if this cell equals not 0. Actually, this cell currently has blank blank as its output. If this cell is blank, then do blank. And if it's not blank, then we're going to move on to this cell right here. We checked cell 1 right here. And if that one is blank, we can stop right there, display blank. If it's not blank, now we can move on to cell 2 to check if this one's blank. So now we're going to actually do another if statement right here. So if this cell has something in it, then we're going to move on to checking this cell. So if this cell has nothing in it, then we're going to move on to, if this cell has nothing in it, then we're going to do nothing. If this cell has something in it, then we're going to move on to check this cell. So we're actually going to do another looped if then. And if this cell equals blank blank, then we'll keep it blank. And if this cell has something in it, then we will actually go ahead and do the output. A times delta T divided by R. Okay. Let's go ahead and now copy that logic down for the next few cells. And now we are finally finished.